Third item, consider approving a contract between Mesa County and Weaver Consultant Group for environmental consulting and engineering services for Mesa County solid waste management in the amount not to exceed $163,000 and authorize the chair to sign. Jennifer Richardson, Solid Waste and Sustainability Division Director, presenting.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jennifer Richardson, Solid Waste and Sustainability Division Director. So running the landfill, we are the solid waste division, not just the landfill, the compost facility, the hazardous waste collection facility, and our transfer stations all require permits and regulatory compliance. That is with state regulations from multiple different departments and federal regulations. In addition to that, ensuring that we comply with those regulations, our landfill is highly engineered and designed. So, the days of going to the dump with your grandpa that you have these fond memories of, they really don't exist anymore. We're really trying to do everything that we can with engineered controls to protect groundwater, surface water, and air emissions. So in order to make sure that we are doing these things, we hire an outside environmental engineering consultant. Weaver Consulting has been our engineer for the last 5 years, and it was time for us to go out to bid and find a new engineer. So in October, we went out to bid. I think we had 4 qualifying applicants, and Weaver was, not only were they the lowest bid, but they are also the most experienced with our current operation. So implementation is really easy. So that is what this is for. We have 2 different buckets. So the total contract for this year is $163,000, but $100,000 is for routine compliance, stuff that we have to do every single year. Various reports, various groundwater sampling, things like that. The other $63,000 is for special projects. So every year, we, as a leadership team, discuss what kind of things we might need in order to project out into the future and be prepared for future solid waste operations. So the 2 things that we've identified for this year are a rate study and a waste audit. The rate study is needed because not only we have the lowest rates in Colorado for waste disposal, we also got some new regulations, Regulation 31, which is for emissions, and that drives, if you come out to the landfill, you'll see that we have a flare where we're collecting all of the greenhouse gas methane emissions and we're burning them at the flare. Those are federal regulations, but the state has, the state can meet the federal regulations or they can become more stringent. And the state has opted to become more stringent, and which also means more money. So rate study is really important to ensure that we are preparing for the future, we're meeting regulations, but we're also having that balance of having trash disposal be accessible to our residents. The other thing I mentioned was a waste audit. And, I had said that the days of going to the dump with your grandpa have changed. Well, one of the directions that the state is really going is in waste diversion. So instead of putting trash in a big pile and leaving it there for hundreds of years, they want to divert as much material as possible. Well, diversion is just another form of management, right? So we're still having to figure that out and how we're going to manage that waste that's being diverted. But you can't do that if you don't know what's going into the landfill. So we're going to do a waste audit, which will take a week, and we'll go through and we'll sort trash into different piles and see just what is coming into the landfill. How much of it is recyclable? How much of it is compostable? That kind of thing. So, and that all together makes up the contract for 2026.
Okay. Commissioners, do you have any questions on this item?
What's the result of the study? I mean, is it going to force us to identify which materials need to be diverted? I mean, I assume that's going to come at a large cost or increased fees. And
So the point of the audit is so that we know, so it's for future planning, right? It's just so that we know what is going to be the most bang for our buck. Does it make, so like the state passed packaging EPR, which is going to fund recycling. So if we find that we have a lot of recyclables, it'll make more sense for us to invest in pulling those out because there's actually money available from the state. So then we're meeting state goals, but we're also doing it in a way that is sustainable for us. Whereas something like compost, there is no money for it at this point in time. So knowing how much of that material is in there and just being able to plan and prepare for that in the future.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
You guys have had to adjust so much, and the state legislature and the agencies that are currently operating in the state have set some really high goals, and that's not always achievable overnight. And regulations are not always achievable right now. And Rule 31, when we were looking at that last year, it was projected to cost us $9 million just to get started and $1 million after that. I mean, this stuff is real. It's very concerning to all of us who have to work off of a very limited budget. And to add to that complexity is our landfill is an enterprise, and it can't operate more than 10% of county dollars. It has to function more like a business. And that's really difficult when you're providing such a unique service and a needed service to our community. So you guys are tackling a lot of issues. You have a lot of regulation from the state, a lot of regulation from the feds. There's a lot of moving parts. So I think this study is definitely needed. I'm excited to see what comes out of it and where we can project to find the most cost savings and benefit for our residents. We only have so much tax dollars to go into this. It does need to operate like a business. And, we have to invest like a business and plan. And you've always been very forward-thinking, Jennifer, and we really appreciate your leadership at the landfill. It's been exceptional to watch you work, especially in the regulatory environment, working with our state agencies. Your leadership is very well known across the state, and we are very blessed to have you. So I'm in full support of this contract. Sometimes it's not fun to spend this kind of money just trying to figure out what's coming next, but I really do appreciate your leadership. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess, Jennifer, for me, on the accounting side, it breaks down to about $13,583 per month. And we have a blanket amount or an approximate blanket amount, the way I see it, of $163,000. In the past, did we utilize the full amount, or do we sometimes, this is a hypothetical number that, does it always generally go to that number?
Yeah, this is a not to exceed number, and no, it doesn't typically cost as much money as the contract is. It kind of depends, in large part, the waste that we get for that year. We don't really know what's going to happen. One year there was a fire and the entire building was full of asbestos, and that became this huge special burial project that required oversight and a lot of state involvement to be able to accept that waste. So in that year, it could go up higher, right? Or if we had a really large storm event and, there's lots of different variables that can happen that would cause this to reach that max. But no, to answer your question, no, we have not ever actually hit our target.
Okay. Thank you. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments on this item? All right, seeing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the item as published.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer.